Hello there, I'm Lino Ahmoudou. Welcome to Africa 54. Here's what's coming up. President Joe Biden fields reporters' questions on foreign policy and reaffirms his presidential run at the NATO summit. Rwandans are prepared to vote in the pivotal elections 30 years after the Rwandan Patriotic Front's historic liberation. And in entertainment, Heather Maxwell takes viewers inside her radio studio for a behind-the-scenes interview and performance with Zimbabwean band Mukumba. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. President Joe Biden fielded reporters' questions for nearly an hour Thursday with detailed answers on foreign policy, with a strong defense of his resolve to continue running for president, despite questions about his mental state. Biden spoke at the end of the NATO summit in Washington, where leaders agreed on concrete moves to bolster Ukraine's ability to fend off Russian aggression. White House correspondent Anita Powell reports from Washington.
The President of the United States, Joe Biden.
President Joe Biden knew that this, a media appearance before a hungry press barraging him over his political future, would be a major challenge. It was preceded by a major wobble just minutes earlier, in which he introduced Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky by his nemesis name.
And now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
On Thursday, at the end of a packed day of meetings at the NATO summit, Biden took questions for nearly an hour and attempted to soar above his recent rhetorical stumbles and focus on what he sees as the biggest challenge of his presidency: supporting Ukraine against Russia's onslaught. He took credit for what he described as success.
During the week of this summit, several heads of states made it a point in their statements to thank the United States and to thank me personally for all that NATO has achieved.
But he also acknowledged the challenge the American presidential race has become after his disastrous debate performance last month. He described his poor performance then as a stupid mistake, but reiterated his belief that he will beat former President Donald Trump in November.
I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
Questions about Biden's ability to stand up to major global challenges have been a whispered undertone of the Washington summit, marking the 75th year of the NATO alliance. Alliance members have made several concrete moves to shore up Ukraine, including a plan to bring coordination of the conflict under the purview of NATO instead of Washington. And publicly, many leaders have dismissed the doubts over Biden's fitness.
I have absolutely no concerns about the capacity of the current President of the United States to lead his country and to lead our fight for Ukraine and to lead NATO. And I think this summit speaks tons and volumes for that.
Some analysts seem to agree.
I think it was a good day for Mr. Biden, the best day he's had in quite some time. Will it change the course of the stream, or will it just be a stone in the stream that diverts the current without fundamentally changing its course? I don't know.
On Friday, Biden faces another grueling test. He returns to the campaign trail with a visit to Detroit, where he will court the people whose approval he needs most: voters. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.
The 2024 NATO summit concluded in Washington, underscoring, among other things, NATO's role in global security. Observers say NATO has a shared interest in working for a more stable Africa. Joining us for some insight is Paseka Farumele, political analyst and lecturer at the University of South Africa and a member of the Convention for Pan-Africanism and Progress. Mr. Farumele, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
So what were some of the main takeaways from the NATO summit for you?
So the main thing that I took away from the NATO summit was that nothing much has changed. Most of what NATO was doing today was to try and re-emphasize its own relationships with itself and amongst its countries to make sure that they are going to back Ukraine to the best of their abilities and to make sure that they have a more funding into their own military. So basically what they have done, they have just reaffirmed and re-strengthened their position as an organization.
And the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni warned NATO leaders not to lose sight of Russia and China's expansion in Africa. What do you make of his statement?
Thank you very much for that. I think that is a very important statement because it speaks to the mindset of what NATO is right now. NATO has clearly identified the countries that it sees as enemies, and it is willing to use Africa as the battlefield. And that in its own is very problematic, and it is very stressful for other African countries and Africa in general, because it means that Africa will be used as a proxy so that these powerhouses, these powerful countries can fight their battles. So that in its own is quite stressful and problematic for what we stand for as a continent and where we are trying to go, and the relationships and rapports that we are attempting to build.
So, Paseka, in your opinion, how can NATO's engagement in Africa evolve to address both immediate security concerns and long-term stability and development goals?
There's a lot that needs to happen. Right now, a lot of countries in Africa have started to reevaluate their relationships with the rest of the West, specifically with France. If you look at the situation that is currently happening in the Sahel, with that situation on its own, you can see that African countries, specifically those who have had close ties until recently with NATO countries, have decided to remove themselves from there and start to build other rapports with different countries like Russia, and which is why NATO is making the statement that Russia is pushing public propaganda in the continent, but without having the context and understanding that a lot of these countries, specifically those in the Sahel, have found themselves destabilized for so long that they do not see the purpose of any Western countries in their country, because they do not stand to benefit anything, but they stand to lose a lot. So with that, if you are able to understand and comprehend that reality, then it becomes a different context altogether. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Farumele, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Paseka Farumele is a political analyst and lectured the nation after the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Diana Iriza in Kigali, Rwanda, has more.
Since 1994, President Paul Kagame has led the governing Rwandan Patriotic Front. He was elected Rwanda's president in April 2000. Under his leadership, the country has experienced sustainable development and economic growth. Kagame, eligible under Rwandan law to seek 2 additional 5-year terms, is expected to secure re-election in the coming polls. 2 candidates are challenging him, independent candidates Philippe Mpayimana and Frank Habineza of the Democratic Green Party. Despite his party's limited electoral success in previous campaigns, Frank Habineza remains undeterred. The Democratic Green Party, which won the parliamentary seats in the 2018 elections, is campaigning across Rwanda, recently focusing efforts in the district of Bugesera. Several Rwandans attending Frank Habineza's campaign rally expressed satisfaction with his promises, opting instead to support Kagame due to his demonstrated accomplishments. I am very skeptical about voting for Frank Habineza. I want to see the country prosper and move forward. And we can only move forward with President Paul Kagame, who has already shown us what he's capable of. Mpayimana, who garnered minimal support in his 2017 run for president, has reaffirmed his commitment to Rwanda's progress during a recent news conference on July 19th. He expressed confidence in this year's election, saying that Rwandans now better understand the democratic process. Mpayimana told journalists acknowledging the achievements of the RPF while expressing his readiness to contribute further to the country.
We are competing in projects for the future. There are new things I propose in tourism, in reforming our infrastructure, in completing what have begun by this incumbent regime. I complete and I reform. You see, those things are needed.
Not all candidates have been able to participate fully in Rwanda's democratic process. Diane Rwigara, a critic of President Kagame, has been barred from standing in the election. When the Electoral Commission banned her, it cited procedural issues, including alleged deficiencies in documentation related to her criminal record and insufficient national support. Rwigara denounced the decision, saying she was unfairly denied her right to campaign for the presidency. About 9.5 million Rwandans are eligible to vote in the July 15th election. In the 2017 election, about 72.23% of those were eligible to cast ballots. Results this year are expected to be announced the day after the elections. Diana Iriza, Kigali, Rwanda, VOA News.
Now to Kenya, where Police Chief Japhet Koome resigned on Friday following intense criticism of officers' conduct during anti-government protests last month, in which at least 39 people were killed. President William Ruto's office announced Koome's resignation the day after firing nearly his entire cabinet, bowing to the demands of protesters. Amos Wangwa spoke to people on the streets of Nairobi to get their reactions.
The President did the best, and it was very appropriate and very timely, because indeed, if you look at the budget for 2024-2025, it had a lot of expenditures, which out of it, almost 80% was salaries, which I think by dissolving that cabinet, he did the best thing that were supposed to of him.
I just want to congratulate President Ruto for what he did, but even though he dissolved the cabinet, which is okay, but we still expect more, because we have seen that he left the prime cabinet, which is unconstitutional. So I expected that to be done wholly. So if he just wanted to do away with these people, then he was supposed to clear up everything and start afresh.
What he did for a start is a good thing. Yes, we wish there can be more measures now that they've gone home. If they can take some measures to retrieve whatever was lost in terms of corruptions, budgeted corruptions, lost money, it can be a good start. But that's the bare minimum. It wasn't the end.
What Kenyans want now, at the moment, we need to get rid of corruption in the cabinet. So he has started well, because we wanted to select some who can do the job right at the moment, because we want the job to be done right. And if we do the budget, we know the budget is budgeted not on corruption purposes, but on delivering services to Kenyans. That is all.
From what we are seeing, there's no turning back. There's no turning back until we put our leaders back to track, and some of us want new faces, because some faces tumekuwa tukiziona, we've been seeing them since we were born until now. Let there be new faces, let there be changes, let there be something new in Kenya.
Kenyans on the streets of Nairobi reacting to the move by President Ruto to fire his cabinet. For some perspective to unprecedented developments in Kenya and the possible way forward for President Ruto, Dr. Edgar Gitua, an international relations, diplomacy and security analyst at Strathmore University, joins us live from Nairobi. Dr. Gitua, thank you for joining us. What do you make of this latest development with almost all the cabinet being sacked by President Ruto?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think he's done the right thing because he wants to start on a clean slate. He definitely, and he confessed it on live media, that he feels his cabinet had let him down, not given him the right advice, and created a lot of anger within the populace. So he did the right thing in terms of getting rid of them, and he wants to start on a clean slate. It's possible that there are some he could reappoint, especially the ones who are not tainted with corruption, the ones probably who are performing in various dockets. So we're looking forward to him beginning with a new team that is going to carry forward the vision will be sensitive to what the country needs, and definitely who will basically help him carry forward the vision that he had from the day he took his oath of office.
So what does it say about the power of the protesters? And is it still about tax?
Yeah, thanks. I think what we've just seen, Kenya has demonstrated and exemplified what democracy truly means when the people actually speak, and the social contract that government and citizens have is actually actualized. It's unfortunate it had to get to this point. It had to take the protests. But going forward, I think business will be different in the country in terms of leadership in the country, regardless from the president to the governors. They'll begin to listen more to the people. So that is a plus, and that's a win for us. And then on the other hand, it means going forward, the citizens' public participation and the citizens' voice is going to be heard more. And it's not going to be an elite-led kind of government. It will be a government that is listening, a government that is sensitive to the needs and the views of the people. And in terms of the budget deficits that could arise from the withdrawal of the finance bill, I know the country will forge forward through public participation by crafting solutions that are going to be win-win for both government and the people of Kenya.
And very quickly, he talked about forming a broad-based government. What does this look like?
Yeah, okay. He's left people in suspense. There are a lot of rumors going on around. Broad-based government could mean he is going to reach not only from within the political class, but he's also going into the technocrats, is going to reach into the youth to try and get a broad-based government that is representative of the face of the people of Kenya. So we're expecting to see a cabinet that has people of varied ages, varied experience.
Okay.
Personally, I'd like to see people who are more experienced and competent to handle the various dockets that he is going to appoint into.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gitua. We appreciate your time. Dr. Edgar Gitua is an international relations, diplomacy, and security analyst at Strathmore University in Nairobi. Now, the journey to home ownership presents both challenges and opportunities. Experts say the home ownership can offer financial stability and potential tax benefits. For immigrants in America, home ownership not only provides financial security, but also symbolizes a milestone in achieving the American dream. However, immigrants often face unique hurdles. For more insight, real estate expert Izzy Okwodu, also known as the Easy Way, joins Africa 54. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So listen, very often people are apprehensive about buying a house. It's a very, very complicated undertaking. Sometimes immigrants even think that they may not qualify, they don't have enough money, so on and so forth. What is one of the biggest myths that you've come across when it comes to immigrants and the idea of buying a house, African immigrants, that is, about buying a house in the U.S.?
Yeah, the biggest myth I come across is a lot of people think you have to buy the home in cash. The same way it is done back home, that you have to save up all the money to buy a house and buy it at one step.
So why is it important for people in general and African immigrants who just moved here maybe a few months ago, 1 year ago, or so on, to think about start thinking about buying a house?
The most important thing about it is saving of the money. Because once you move here, you're paying your landlords every month. Let's say hypothetically $2,000 a month. So when you own a home, instead of paying that landlord that money, you actually invest in the money into something that you own that now creates value.
And one of the things that you do, you are a real estate broker, you help people buy houses. You also advise people about buying houses and other things related to finances. You also organize home buying seminars periodically, with one coming up this month. What can people learn during those seminars?
At the home buying seminars, I have the loan officer who'll be right there to educate you about the down payment assistance and the different assistance you could get. Closing cost helps. I have a credit repair specialist that will help you with credit and let them understand what credit is. Because some people, they're fresh into the country, they're not really familiar with credit. So we educate them about credit. We educate them about the advantages of solar energy, just everything that has to do with real estate. We educate them.
Briefly, if you could compare home buying here in America and in Africa, particularly in Nigeria, where you're from, what would you say 1 or 2 advantages from the U.S. and in Africa?
The biggest advantage, I would say, for the United States is like with a little bit of money, you could purchase a home. So with as little as $15,000 to $20,000, you could use that as a down payment and pay over time to buy a home. Whereas back home, you have to buy the house in cash, or you have to build 10 years, 15 years to build a home.
Now, you are called the easy way. What does the process look like when someone wants to buy a house with you, for example?
I take them through the whole process. I educate them. I connect them with all the right people. So if you need help with credit, which most people have issues with credit, I have a credit repair specialist on my team. If you don't have that much finances, you need money, you need to maneuver, I connect you directly with the loan officer that could tell you what you need or what you can do.
And quickly, the next seminar is
July 27th.
July 27th. Yeah. Maybe I will attend and learn something.
From 12 to 2 p.m., Spectrum Lounge.
Quick word about owning a home.
It's the fastest way to grow wealth in America.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Izzy. We appreciate your time. Mr. Izzy Okwodu is a real estate expert. We will be right back.
African governments are wrestling with rising food prices, gas shortages, as well as other economic challenges. Many non-governmental organizations are having to increase their effort in supporting the vulnerable in society. On this week's episode of Our Voices, we'll hear what is being done by Africans for Africans to curb hunger and malnutrition and the women behind the work. Join the conversation each week right here on Our Voices.
You're watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us each week right here on Red Carpet. We bring you the latest in
In other news, authorities in South Africa say more stormy weather loomed over Cape Town after days of high winds and drenching rain that have displaced hundreds of people, flooded homes, and uprooted trees. Close to 33,000 dwellings in both informal settlements and suburbs have been affected, according to the city's Disaster Management Center. More than 1 million children are at risk from acute malnutrition in the Democratic Republic of Congo as rising violence drives up needs among millions of displaced people, according to the World Health Organization. The impact on civilians of the more than 2-year conflict between Congolese forces and the Rwanda-backed M23 militia in eastern areas of the country has caused more people to flee, with 2.7 million displaced in North Kivu alone. Now it's time for our entertainment report, and joining us now is Heather Maxwell, host of VOA's Music Time in Africa radio program, with the latest news and notes on a popular Zimbabwean music group. Hello, Heather.
Hello, Lenore. Hello, everyone. Yeah, a few weeks ago, we saw the band Mukumba perform here live at VOA Studios. I also interviewed them for my radio show, Music Time in Africa, in my office. And today, I want to share with you a portion of that session. Here they are, unplugged and a cappella. Well, we're still waiting for that a cappella. I hope that I'm not going to have to sing the a cappella. I could, though. I really could.
Well, you're a fantastic singer.
So. Thank you. While we're waiting, I can explain. They were singing a song called Waile. That song is from their new album. They're on tour all across the United States right now. They were in Michigan, which is my home state, just last night, and tonight also again in Detroit. And from there, I think they're going to several other cities. And then after that, they're heading to Europe for more touring. So this is the band's very first U.S. tour since, I think it was 10 years ago or so. This is what they told me in this studio session that we're waiting to watch.
What do you like about this band, Heather?
Oh, Lenore, you know, I love this band for so many reasons. Number one, I think the biggest thing is that they are all a group of friends since high school, even before that, growing up all in the same town in Zimbabwe, Victoria Falls, a small town in Victoria Falls. They all went through their manhood, what do you call that? The initiation, which they go off into the bush for several months. When
the rite of passage.
The rite of passage. They all went through that together. They learned a lot of things, including how to sing, the value of music, the value of performing, and they bring that to their music. So I think that's really unique. And you know, they're a live band. That's another reason I love them. They play real instruments, guitar, bass, drums, voice. They all sing together a cappella, which is what we were going to hear. And they're just incredible.
And Heather, you are a singer yourself,
Yes.
very good at it, I must say.
Thank you.
When you meet groups such as this one, remind me of the name again.
Mokumba.
Mokumba,
Yeah.
I remember them from last time. They are fantastic. When you meet groups like Mokumba, what do you take away? Okay, I think we can see them now.
We're going to do Waile.
Waile.
Yeah.
That's from an older album,
Yeah,
isn't
from
it?
the old album,
I remember
yes.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, Matthias, let it rip.
Waile, yeah, Waile Gamboa. Yeah. Waile, Mama Yame. Waile, yeah, Waile Gamboa. Yeah. Waile, Mama Yame. Waile kulifunda mama kuwana Gamboa. Wale nangamina, hinga wale nangamina, yamin kwenu gweshilingo. Waile kulifunda mama kuwana Gamboa. Wale nangamina, hinga wale nangamina, yamin kwenu gweshilingo. Kotona kulifunda mama kwenda. Waya memo, waile mama yame. Kotona kulifunda mama kwenda. Waya memo, waile mama yame. Yeah. Waile mama yame. Yeah. Waile mama yame.
All right, well, that is it from me this week. Lenore, back to you.
Always great to hear Mokumba. Heather, thanks. Be sure to join Heather Maxwell's Entertainment Reports every Friday here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.